Once lost to time, the Tinkerer Faruzan makes her great escape and will be joining the playable cast of Genshin Impact. She is ready to swirl heliotrope brains with the power of mathematics and geometry. As an Anemo wielding bow user, Faruzan's greatest strength is as a team player. She can provide valuable and consistent crowd control alongside great damage buffs to other Anemo users. Her elemental skill consists of her throwing out a triangle object thingy called a polyhedron at enemies, dealing AoE Anemo damage. When she does this, she enters the manifest scale state, where her charge shots get augmented into a hurricane arrow, allowing her to create a delayed vortex at the charge shot's point of impact. This vortex draws enemies in for a short time and acts as a form of crowd control. It also deals a tiny bit of Anemo damage from the vortex's form, and that counts as elemental skill damage. The elemental skill has a short cooldown of 6 seconds, and thanks to one of Faruzan's passive ascension talent, whenever Faruzan is in the manifest scale state from using her elemental skill, her charge attacks charges 60% faster, and all opponents hit by her hurricane arrow's vortex will suffer a decrease in the Anemo resistance based on Faruzan's elemental burst talent level. Faruzan's elemental burst has her unleashing her polyhedron in a triangle formation, unleashing a whirlwind pulse at each corner of the triangle. Each whirlwind pulse does immense damage, and at level 10 can shred an enemy's Anemo resistance by 30% for 4 seconds and grant any allies more than 30% Anemo damage bonus for 4 seconds. Placed well, the buff and debuffs will last for a total of 12 seconds. The burst has a 20-second cooldown and a high energy cost of 80, but this is subsidized with the fact that Faruzan is meant to be paired with another Anemo character, allowing for more consistent energy generation. Faruzan's second passive ascension talent will grant any characters buffed by her Anemo damage bonus from her elemental burst 32% of her attack stat as bonus damage, if and when the affected characters deal Anemo damage with any of their normal, charge, or plunging attacks, elemental skill, or elemental burst. This damage bonus can be gained every 0.8 seconds and goes away on trigger or when the burst Anemo damage bonus buff wears off, whichever comes first. Faruzan, much like Kujo Sera and Goro, benefit greatly in mono element teams, but because of that, they are not the most flexible, essentially taking up 2 party slots since they need a mono element ally to fully shine, either through a DPS-centric character of that element or a character like Chongyun or Candice so they can fully use their own buffs for themselves. While I'm sure many will be pairing her up with the Wanderer, Xiao is a very strong candidate for Faruzan to pair up with as well. She also elevates Heizou and Kazuha quite a bit. As for the remaining party slots, well, that goes back to the Anemo DPS you choose to go alongside Faruzan. Which begs the question, who pairs best with Faruzan? Let us know in the comments below. And if you've been enjoying your time so far, support this channel by giving this video a like and consider subscribing for more content like this. Thank you. Personally, because of Faruzan's Constellation 6, which we'll soon cover, she seems immensely synergistic with Xiao. Xiao's plunging attack spam can have many players wanting a way to keep the enemies clumped up, and Faruzan can offer that with her C6. Don't get me wrong, the Wanderer is going to be so strong with Faruzan, but Faruzan feels like she completes Xiao. And with that comment, let the shipping wars commence. Artifact stats that Faruzan benefits the most from are Elemental Mastery, Energy Recharge, and Attack Percent. While Crit is always useful and helps her overall damage, Attack Percent is easier to amass, and because of her kit, allows her to transfer that attack bonus to a teammate who have better crit ratios. Even with that said, I still recommend a crit rate or crit damage circlet alongside an Elemental Mastery or Energy Recharge Sands. If you are using an Energy Recharge weapon, consider an Elemental Mastery Sands, and vice versa. For your Goblet stat of choice, Anemo damage bonus seems like the obvious way to go. The first set I recommend for Faruzan is 4-piece Noblesse Oblige. This will give Faruzan additional support capabilities in providing additional attack bonus for the team while amplifying the already high damage ratio of her elemental burst. It's just plain good. If you have another 4-piece Noblesse user, you can just as easily convert to 2-piece Gladiator, 2-piece Noblesse, which will give Faruzan immense damage on her burst while offering her that attack stat bonus that she can pass on to her allies. 4-piece Viridescent Veneer is also an option in more melt or vape-centric comps, and 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate can make her elemental burst uptime more consistent while amping up her damage to absurd levels. My recommendations for Faruzan's weapons are as follows. For premium options, Elegy of the End provides Faruzan with a decent basic attack and a useful substat in Energy Recharge. Faruzan also gets additional Elemental Mastery, a powerful stat for any Anemo character. Whenever Faruzan hits with her elemental skill or burst 4 times with this weapon, Faruzan will be able to provide additional Elemental Mastery and attack bonus to the entirety of her team. Another option includes the Skyward Harp due to its high raw base damage, and a decent substat in crit, but other than just being a raw stat stick, there's not much else it provides. If you want to play Faruzan as your main character, you may benefit from running Anemo's Bow or Hunter's Path. The Anemo's bow will not only boost Faruzan's initial hurricane arrow shot, which she can rapidly shoot out at higher constellations, but she will also get a higher attack stat thanks to the attack percent substat, which Faruzan herself can benefit from if she is buffed by her own elemental burst. The second option is Hunter's Path, which can provide Faruzan with a way to scale off of elemental mastery. This weapon and build is not something I'd recommend except for the most dedicated of Faruzan mains who wanted to try a more elemental mastery focused Faruzan. Hunter's Path provides a lower base attack, but it does have a great substat in a 44% crit rate while giving out attack damage bonus from his passive for free. If played correctly, a C1 Faruzan could make great use of the Tireless Hunt's effect attached to this bow, which increases a charge shot's damage by a higher percentage of the wielder's elemental mastery. More freemium options include the Stringless, a generally very good option as it offers decent base attack and elemental mastery as a substat. The Stringless's true power comes from his passive, granting a tremendous boost to both elemental skill and elemental burst damage, which happens to be Faruzan's main method of dispensing damage. Another good option is the Sacrificial Bow. It has a good base attack and a good substat in energy recharge. At Refinement rank 5 and Constellation 1, the Sacrificial Bow lets Faruzan essentially plop out 4 vortexes in rapid succession. Sac Bow is also nice, allowing Faruzan to generate a lot of Anemo particles. Alternative to this is the Favonius War Bow, which has a very low attack but allows Faruzan to essentially always have her elemental burst off cooldown. I wouldn't recommend this build personally, as between Faruzan and your Anemo partner, I don't think you'd be that stressed for energy, or energy generation for that matter. Next up, Fading Twilight. Good basic attack and a good substat in energy recharge, with a pretty good damage at passive that sadly takes a bit of time to get up to full speed, requiring the user to essentially wait 21 seconds before getting the full bonus of this weapon, but it was a free event weapon, so I can't really complain too much about it. And speaking of event weapons, there's another one that Faruzan can use, and that's the Windbloom Ode. It's a decent option, it gives pretty decent elemental mastery as a substat, has decent attack, and you get an increase in attack bonus every time you cast an elemental skill for 6 seconds. Faruzan has a 6-second cooldown, it just kind of matches up that you basically have 100% uptime on this elemental skill, so if you don't have any other bow and you do have this event bow, seems to fit pretty well. And lastly, for fun, Faruzan can run Moon's Moon in specific team comps. On its own, it does provide Faruzan with a lot of attack, and with the right setup, you can boost Faruzan's already high burst ratios to a crazy degree. This could be fun in some weird electro-charged Anemo team comp featuring Raiden Shogun, Xiao, and perhaps Xiao or the Wanderer. But I'll leave it up to all of you to tell me if the Moon's Moon is actually something that's viable, or if it's just too crazy to work. Faruzan's constellations are as follows. Constellation 1 allows her to fire off 2 charges of hurricane arrows when she gains the manifest scale state from her elemental skill. Faruzan's second constellation increases her elemental burst's dazzling polyhedron from 12 seconds to 18 seconds. I am unsure if this means that every player will get an additional whirlwind pulse or not, but from the footage that we got from the special program, I'm gonna assume we get an additional pulse, which also means a higher duration on the Anemo damage bonus buff and the Anemo resistance shred that you can apply to enemies. Constellation 3 increases Faruzan's elemental skill by 3 talent levels. Constellation 4 allows her to restore 2 points of energy for any enemies hit by her vortex created by her augmented charge shots. You can only get a maximum of 4 energies per charge shot. Constellation 5 increases her elemental burst talent level by 3. Faruzan's Constellation 6 provides additional bonuses to her elemental burst buff. When any character that is buffed by Faruzan deals Anemo damage, they will gain a 40% increase in crit damage. And once every 3 seconds, whenever a character affected by Faruzan's buff deals damage, they will generate the same vortex that is created by Faruzan's augmented charge shot and have the same scaling and the same crowd control effect. This second effect is the reason why I think she will pair up so well with Xiao, giving Xiao that little suction or vortex effect every time he lands with his plunge attack, so that way he can jump up and deal a plunge attack again. I love that unlike Candace, Faruzan can actually make use of her own Constellation 6, a bonus that allows Faruzan to be a main DPS of her own in the future, or if you really want to make it work, which is something I'll always advocate for when it comes to Genshin characters. I actually hate that some characters are pigeonholed into being supports for other characters, but that's a whole nother rant entirely. To wrap it up, Faruzan looks like a great support for many Anemo DPS characters, all the while providing crowd control for Anemo characters who may not be the best at doing that, like Heizou, the Wanderer, Jean, Xiao. I also do like that she does pretty good damage with her elemental burst and elemental skill, allowing her to be used outside of Anemo-centric teams if you really want to. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do that. She is strong enough on her own and can use her own buff. Another bonus is in her debuff banner, she's coming with the Wanderer, which they pair up really well already, so it's a package deal. If you're gonna go for the Wanderer, you're gonna get a bunch of Faruzan, and you're gonna probably be able to use Faruzan to great effects. Or you could be like me and always miss on the 4-star characters you really want in a banner and just be left with huge copium. You know, it happens all the time. I'm not sad. Maybe a little bit I am sad. Anyways, if you want to learn about one of her best partner, the Wanderer, check out this video on screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.